Sufyan, like most Arabs before Islam, wanted to live freely and in peace. He wanted to earn a living and care for his family. But those were things Mohammad couldn't tolerate. Islam had to be imposed to survive. It had to plunder to live. Doctrinally bankrupt, he knew that his Sunnah and Quran would never withstand the scrutiny of a free society. And morally bankrupt, it could not provide the level of trust needed for a free economy. So Muslims were destined to lose their liberties. They were transformed into parasites. Islam conquered them, deceived them, corrupted them, and then it damned them.
Tabari. When Abu Sufyan reported back to the Quraysh that Muhammad had given him no reply, they said, "Woe to you! By Allah, he did no more than play with you."
Back in the pirate's den,
Ishaq. Muhammad commanded the people to prepare for the foray.
Raid, incursion, sortie, attack, or assault.
The messenger informed his troops that he was going to Mecca. He ordered them to prepare themselves and ready their equipment quickly. He said, "O Allah, keep spies and news from the Quraysh until we take them by surprise in their land."
Fundamental Islamic organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, and Al-Qaeda offer the same prayer today.
Ishaq. Hassan incited the men, reciting, "This is the time for war. Don't feel safe from us. Our swords will open the door to death."
And so it would be forevermore.
Tabari. He departed on the 10th day of Ramadan. They broke their fast and encamped at Mar Zaran with 10,000 Muslims. No news reached the Quraysh about the messenger, and they did not know what he would do.
I beg to differ. Allah's boy had been a non-stop pirate and an insatiable terrorist for 8 years now. The Meccans were under no illusions. It was the Muslims who were deceived. In their prophet's presence, the first Muslims broke several of Islam's 5 pillars. They ignored the Ramadan fast. They attacked the town whose people had invented Allah, and they ceased their prostrations so that they could kill.
Tabari. When the messenger set out for Mecca, he appointed no one to military commands and displayed no banners.
He was using deceptive tactics. Then he begged for help.
He sent to the Arab tribes, but they hung back from him.
Given a choice, most Arabs chose not to align themselves with his religion. Yet, sadly, there were enough militants willing to sell their soul for a buck.
When Muhammad reached Qudayd, the Sulaim met him with horses and full armament. Uyayna joined the messenger at Arj. Akra joined at Suqya. Tabari. When Muhammad encamped at Mar Zaran, Abbas said, "Woe to the Quraysh! If Allah's apostle surprises them in their territory and enters Mecca by force, it means the destruction of the Quraysh."
Looking out at the Muslim encampments on the hills surrounding Mecca,
Abu Sufyan said, "I have never seen fires like those I see today. These are the fires of men gathered for war. Here is Muhammad, come against us with a force we cannot resist, 10,000 Muslims. If he gets a hold of me, he will cut off my head."
Abu Sufyan was captured by a Muslim eager to do just that. He brought him shackled to Muhammad, who demanded,
recorded in Tabari and Ishaq, "Alas, Sufyan, isn't it time for you to admit that I am the messenger of Allah?" Sufyan replied, "As to that, I have some doubt."
But that wasn't an acceptable answer, so Abbas shrieked,
"Woe to you! Submit and recite the testimony that there is no ilah but Allah, and that Muhammad is the apostle of Allah, before your head is cut off."
That was original Islam in action. submit or die. Testify that there is no ilah but Allah, and that would include Yahweh and the Messiah, or lose your head. Then recite, Mohammad is the apostle of Allah, as opposed to Moses, Peter, Paul, or John. Or else,
Muhammad told Abbas to detain Abu Sufyan by the spur of the mountain in the narrow part of the valley until the troops of Allah passed by him.
Then Ishaq tells us,
the apostle punched him in the chest
before he was hauled away.
Tabari and Ishaq. Finally, the squadrons of the messenger, composed of emigrants and Ansar in iron armor with only their eyes visible, passed by. His company had become great. Woe to you! None can withstand him. It was all due to his prophetic office.
The religious doctrine of Islam had served Mohammed well. Tradition indicates that Sufyan was freed once the Muslims had taken up their positions surrounding Mecca.
Ishaq. Abu Sufyan ran in haste. When he reached Mecca, he shouted in the sanctuary, People of the Quraysh, behold, Muhammad has come upon us with forces we cannot resist. Hind,
the woman who had lost her son, her husband, her father, and her brother to Islam's butchery at Bladder,
said, Kill this fat, greasy bladder of lard. What a rotten protector of the people. Woe to you, Sufyan replied. Don't let this woman deceive you, for we cannot resist Islam.
Mohammed had offered Abu Sufyan a deal he could not refuse. Surrender or die. Hind correctly recognized that the Meccan chief had become a traitor. The prophet was on the warpath. He was now within reach of fulfilling Khadijah's aspirations, the profitable prophet plan. And all of Mecca would be humbled, humiliated for having rejected him.
Tabari. Heading for Mecca, the prophet sent Zubair after the Quraysh. He gave him his banner and appointed him commander over the cavalry of emigrants and Ansar. He ordered, Zubair, plant my banner in the upper part of Mecca. Remain there until I come to you.
Ishaq says that the prophet showed his true colors that day. He and his men were festooned in
green and black.
Green is symbolic of envy, the root cause of Islam. Black is the color of deceit and death, the result of Islam. Then, speaking of the dark spirit that inspired and possessed Mohammed, his biographer reports,
Ishaq, by Allah, the black mass has spread. Also Ishaq, Abu Bakr said, There is not much honesty among people nowadays.
One thing simply led to the other.
Tabari and Ishaq. The prophet sent out his army in divisions. Zubair was in charge of the left wing. He was ordered to make an entry with his forces from Kuda. Sa'd was commanded to enter with forces by way of Qada. Allah's apostle said, Today is a day of battle and war. Sanctuary is no more. Today the sacred territory is deemed profane.
Ungodly, irreverent, wicked, and sacrilegious.
When one of the muhajirs,
the immigrants,
heard him say this, he warned the apostle, It is to be feared that you would resort to violence. The prophet ordered Ali to go after him, take the flag from him, and fight with it himself.
A less corrupt man suggests that profaning God and resorting to violence might not be a very good idea, and he was rebuked. The debate between religion and politics, peace and violence, had taken place once again. And as always, Islam's founder made the wrong call. There is no Islam apart from Mohammed, and he has spoken. Are you listening?
Bukhari. Allah's apostle said on the day of the conquest of Mecca, There is no migration now, only jihad, holy battle. And when you are called for jihad, you should come out at once.
The message is as clear as Mein Kampf. It's as undeniable as Pearl Harbor. It's as brutal as 9/11. There is only jihad. Hitler, interestingly enough, repeated Mohammed's line on the morning he invaded Poland. He said, "There is no more emigration now, only war."